outdoors, ultimate predators that hunt in the woods, under the ice, or even in the suburbs.
Oh my God, it's in the house! It's in the house!
What makes them so powerful? And what happens when man meets bear? British Columbia, Canada, August 1994. Deep in the forest, Louis Van Grudel and Wade Chodine are marking high-quality timber for logging. They're in the middle of nowhere. But they're not alone. Grizzlies very rarely attack humans, but what's about to happen will reveal the devastating consequences when they do.
Just before 11 o'clock, we heard something. You hear that? You know, we heard it was woofing and kind of a bark above us. And we could hear the sound getting closer. We had decided, yeah, it was a bear.
Wade races up a tree. But Louis isn't so fast. Suddenly, he's facing a grizzly. And his worst nightmare begins. With one blow of its paw, the bear shatters Louis' hand. The grizzly's teeth rip into his flesh. And Louis tries to fight back.
I grabbed the bear by the ears, trying to reduce his leverage on me. He ended up picking me right up. It was effortless.
Louis weighs 200 pounds and is a former competitive wrestler. But against the grizzly, he has no chance.
The thing that you don't forget are some of the sounds. You know, your scalp tearing, sounded like a sort of a wet rag.
The bear tears his scalp from his head, rips his arm to the bone, and slices open his neck. When rescuers arrive about an hour later, they find a man so badly injured, it takes 2.5 years and 16 surgeries to repair his body. Rare attacks like this give us a unique insight into the power of a bear. The strength of the blows that devastated Louis Van Grudel came from something only grizzlies and other brown bears have: their shoulder hump. It delivers extra force that comes in handy when male grizzlies fight over food or over mates. They use it to get to the rest of their diet, which is often underground: roots, insects, and rodents. But how strong is a grizzly when it really means business? At the Grizzly and Wolf Discovery Center outside Yellowstone National Park, Montana, engineering professor Doug Cairns and student Jay Smith are set to calculate bear power. All they need are some very heavy objects and cooperative bears. But bears don't move large objects just to prove they can. They need a much tastier reward.
I've got peanut butter and dry dog food that's coated with maple syrup.
It works like a charm. A 1,000-pound grizzly named Sam smells lunch. He easily sends the 700-pound dumpster end over end and lifts a 675-pound rock with only one paw. Back in their lab, Doug and Jay do the math. The experiment shows when he overturned the dumpster, Sam was more powerful than 2 humans, and more than 5 humans when he flipped the rock with one arm. But sheer muscle power wasn't what did the most damage to Louis van Grudel. His worst wounds weren't from blows, but from bites. The strength of a grizzly's bite doesn't just come from the teeth. It starts with a powerful anchoring system called the sagittal crest, a fin of bone running along the top of its skull. It gives the skull more surface area to hold muscles that drive the jaws. And in front, 4 wicked-looking canines designed for gripping flesh. Grizzlies evolved their massive jaw muscles not to chew their meat, but to munch their salad. And they can use those muscles any way they want. When the grizzly began biting, Louis tried to fight back. But that only made things worse. Gripping him in its jaws, using only its shoulder and neck muscles, the grizzly picked 200-pound Louis off the ground, held him over its head, and slammed him down again. An incredible feat for an animal accustomed to picking salmon out of rivers. There's another extraordinary tool in this bear's arsenal: grizzly claws. Up to 4 inches long. They may look lethal, but they're not for tearing flesh. In open country where grizzlies live, the best food supply is often underground, and grizzly paws are world-class shovels. They're too long and straight to hook into trees. So grizzly bears aren't built to be expert climbers. Wade Shodine figured that when the grizzly attacked him and Louis, to escape the bear, Wade climbed 35 feet up a tree and watched in horror as the grizzly tore his friend to shreds.
I remember the teeth tearing the scalp off his head. The sound I'll never forget.
Wade yelled at the bear, hoping to distract it from mauling Louis. He felt safe yelling at the grizzly because he thought grizzlies couldn't climb, but he was mistaken.
To my horror, this bear grabbed on the tree with both front feet and just proceeded to pull himself straight up.
Seconds later, the bear was 35 feet up the tree, and Wade Shodine was fighting for his life.
Having just witnessed what happened to Louis, it was terror.
One factor that determines a bear's incredible power is its sheer size. No bigger meat-eating animal walks the earth. So how big can a bear get? As big as the brown bears on the Alaskan island of Kodiak. Around 12,000 years ago, bears crossed sheets of ice that once attached Kodiak to the mainland. When the ice receded, they became trapped. Left alone to eat and breed, the bears of Kodiak got big. Very big. Male bears can stand over 10 feet tall and weigh more than half a ton. But there's another bear that may deserve the title of world's biggest. And it lives in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Alaska, the Beaufort Sea, more than 200 miles above the Arctic Circle. Mile after mile of snow-blown sea ice, frozen nearly 5 feet thick. It's hard to imagine anything surviving out here, but the polar bear rules this icy realm. Stephen Amstrup and his team of researchers are tracking 2 polar bears. It's too dangerous to get close without a serious tranquilizer.
So this is the size dart that we'd use for an adult male. This amount of this drug would certainly kill a human right away.
It'll stop a polar bear for just about an hour. It takes 10 minutes for the drug to kick in. Even then, they look more sleepy than knocked out. The team gets to work, taking hair for DNA samples and fat samples that will reveal any traces of environmental toxins. They record the bear's size and weight. There's not a moment to lose. The drug is wearing off.
Skull length is 39.4. He's going to be a respectable bear, and he could easily get over 1,000 pounds in weight with good meals.
But that's only average for polar bears. Adult males can weigh more than 3/4 of a ton. The biggest ever recorded stood some 12 feet tall on its hind legs and weighed over 2,000 pounds, as heavy as an automobile. How can a world as barren as the Arctic grow some of the world's biggest bears? Because hiding under Arctic ice is one of the richest meals on Earth. Ringed seals surrounded by a 5-inch layer of blubber. A high-calorie meal, if you can catch it.
One of the things that's interesting about polar bears is the adaptations that they've made in their teeth since they evolved from grizzly bears about 250,000 years ago.
As grizzlies changed into polar bears, their back teeth changed from plant grinders to meat slicers.
I don't know if we're going to be able to see it on this guy because he's starting to get a little bit lively, but if we can get his mouth to move, you can see those teeth. I'm not going to put my hand in there because he could bite down on it, but they're coming down across each other like scissors.
A polar bear's teeth are predator's teeth.
Oh, it's okay.
And so are its claws.
The claws of a polar bear are real meat hooks. You take a look at that claw, about 2 inches long around the curve, really, really sharp, strong point.
Sharp enough to keep even enormous animals from getting away. And for getting a grip in a slippery world of ice. When a polar bear hunts, its bioengineering comes together to make the perfect Arctic hunter. Like a martial artist breaking a board, the bear bashes the snow with its massive forearms until it crushes the roof of a hidden seal's den. Then thrusts its long neck and narrow head inside, grabbing the seal with its sharp teeth. And in seal hunting, it's all about the size of the catch. A bear built like this can take down just about any Arctic prey it wants, even the biggest. This Russian video shows a polar bear taking on a bull walrus, rare evidence of a polar bear's true power. A bull walrus can have 3-foot tusks and weigh nearly 2 tons. But it's virtually helpless against a polar bear's merciless assault. Using its huge neck muscles, the bear hauls its massive prey from the sea. All the more reason to work fast if you're this close to polar bears, and to know when it's time to leave.
Polar bear is the consummate predator in the Arctic, and the things that they eat are about the size of you and me. And so if we were standing out here and we didn't have the helicopters and we didn't have firearms and things like that, we'd want to be very careful.
Besides brute strength, bears have another trick up their nose, where there lies an immense data-gathering surface area packed with nerve endings. In a forest, the eye can only see as far as the trees allow, but bears can perceive a much wider world through smell. Bear noses pick up smells undetectable to almost any other animal. And that may also be why Wade Shodine and Louis Van Grudel survived a bear attack. Before Wade raced up a tree, he removed his vest. But inside the vest was his only real defense: bear spray. Similar to the potent mace used by policemen and the military. When the grizzly climbed after Wade, it pulled him out of the tree. Wade fell 35 feet, but escaped serious injury. He ran to his vest and grabbed the bear spray. Spraying mace into the world's most sensitive nose can stop even a charging grizzly. And it likely saved Wade and Louie's lives.
It laid at the bottom of the tree for I don't know how long, just in a big pile. I looked at it and I thought, God, I killed this thing. Then it did start to move and slowly kind of got up and was wheezing really bad, blowing at like its nose, and it started to wander off in the direction from which it had come. And if it hadn't been for the mace, I could almost guarantee you that neither one of us would have survived. So.
But there's another bear that we have a much higher chance of meeting: the bear in your backyard. There's a species of bear with skills that the bigger bears don't necessarily possess. A bear you could meet just about anywhere.
It was my daughter's second birthday. I had gotten up early and made brownies to take to playgroup with us to celebrate her birthday. It was a school day for my son, so he had gotten up and dressed, and he was in the living room eating a Pop-Tart, watching TV, and I was in my daughter's room getting her dressed. I heard a noise at the screen door, and I was about to call out to him.
Mom, bear's coming in! Bear's coming!
I grabbed the kids, ran down the hall to my bedroom. We closed the door and called 911. Close the door! It was terrifying. I was scared for my children.
There's a bear at the door. There's a bear at the front door of the house. Yes. Oh my God, it's in the house. It's in the house. We just heard the noise. It's in the house.
The bear ignored the human beings cowering in the bedroom and the freshly baked brownies cooling on the counter.
She opened a cabinet and ate Ovaltine and Pastina and dry cereal and all kinds of stuff like that.
The bear that invaded the Spirko home was a black bear. Only a third the size of a polar bear and half the size of a grizzly. They don't typically inspire that much fear. Some 200,000 black bears live in at least 39 of the lower 48 United States, while around 1,000 brown bears live in only 4 states. There's one feature that makes the black bear so successful: its claws. Grizzly claws are shovels. Polar bear claws are a hunter's talons. Black bear claws are crampons. Short, sharp curves designed to hook into trees, making black bears champion acrobats. A Canadian lodge owner took these incredible photos of a black bear hanging from a clothesline on its way to eat seed from his bird feeder. It seems that no bird feeder is safe from the paws and jaws of a black bear. Or any kitchen cabinet. As the Spirko family discovered, this bold bear is an expert at breaking and entering. And as we move more and more into its territory, it really is becoming the bear next door. The most astonishing part of the Spirko break-in? Where it happened. Highland Lakes, New Jersey. Only 50 miles from downtown Manhattan. In densely populated countries like the United States and Japan, black bears and humans are meeting each other more and more. And not all encounters are peaceful. This usually shy bear can turn predator and use its skills to stalk and attack humans. But it's very rare. Black bears have killed fewer than 40 people in North America in the last 100 years. In New Mexico, a captive bear gets too aggressive. To repel it, its trainer uses force. But it doesn't work. The man hasn't got a chance until the bear suddenly breaks off the attack, when the trainer's wife tosses it a much more interesting snack. An apple. But when we meet bears at a safe distance, we can marvel at the design, grace, and power of one of the most extraordinary animals on Earth.